And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and this is another patron roster review. This is Sao Ren from Less Than 12 Parsecs. What's happening in Less Than 12 Parsecs? How you guys doing out there? Now, he is doing really well in Squad Arena in the top 25, and he's doing not too bad in Fleet, almost in the top 200 almost. And so it's a very competitive shard that he is on. He does spend a little bit of money in the game, has from time to time in the past, you know, $20 to $30 a month is what it sounds like. So there is a little bit of a competitive advantage in that as far as the gearing. So, but he's got this team. It's a very interesting composition he's currently using. And to be completely honest, while it doesn't look like it would go together as far as synergy, it actually kind of does. And it's a good team. But he's been talking about removing Sunfac and Aayla Secura and putting someone else in. So we're talking about a Rex lead with Kylo, who is Zetaed, and Emperor Palpatine as your front three. Kylo and Emperor Palpatine being your big damage dealers. And then who to put in the back two. Now, you could use Sunfac and someone else, or Aayla and someone else. You could use those characters and maybe pull just one of them. But here are some ideas for those back two slots as to who you could put in there. Jedi Knight Anakin, and you have him pretty maxed out. This is an excellent guy who can do a lot of damage, and in a mixed hodgepodge team like this, he's great because as they're going for Emperor Palpatine, they get him under 50% health. Then Jedi Knight Anakin comes out of nowhere with his AoE blast doing 75% more damage. And then Emperor Palpatine heals himself, and then they try to hit Emperor Palpatine again, takes him under 50% health, and then Jedi Knight Anakin gets another attack and does buff immunity and does 75% more damage. So it's one of those things where with what you have, Jedi Knight Anakin would make sense on that team. He's also really tanky and hard to kill, and he does do a good amount of damage. So this would be a good fill-in. Many will be surprised by this, but I think you should consider Geonosian Soldier. And one reason is you've invested all this time to get him to Gear 11, max abilities, 7-star, putting some good mods back onto him, making sure that he's back to the overpowered status he originally had. You could keep your Sunfac in the back as your tank and put Geonosian Soldier in replace of Aayla Secura, and what that would do is give you someone who hits extremely hard and calls an assist and has a lot of synergy with your existing Sunfac whom you have in your arena team. So this is the first time I've suggested Geonosian Soldier in like 6 months, but it's not a bad idea. Let's look at another option. Another option would be your Boba Fett. Again, it took forever to gear this guy up. He's 7 stars. You got good mods on him. You just need to get a little bit more gear because he's a gear 10. Work him up to gear 11 if possible. Even so, Boba Fett at gear 10 has execute and ability block, damage over time. He hits hard on his basic and can hit twice on his basic, which even if he's hitting for 7, that twice makes it 15, which is not bad at all. He would definitely be a good character that you could sub in for one of these two characters, and he would make your team very, very strong. Again, gonna probably surprise a lot of people, but even Rey, you could Zeta with your next Zeta abilities, Rey's unique, and you could put her on the team and you could have her as your mad damage dealer. All you got to do is put your mods that you had once upon a time on her back onto her and reset her up for success to make sure that she's hitting like a steam truck. She is an amazing character. She would be someone that's high on your list that you could put in there that would hit harder than Aayla Secura currently hits for. And lastly, I know a lot of people that don't even think of Han Solo and they think he's a waste, but in the new Maul meta, the Sith Assassin is the one who goes first. Unless Han Solo's present, Han Solo can shoot Sith Assassin, stunner, and then your team gets to go, preventing that crazy chaos we know as the Maul meta. Han Solo is a direct counter to the Maul meta and to the Sith Assassin. You've got him 7-starred, you've got him gear 10, you've got his abilities maxed, so why not trick his mods back out, toss him in the back and see how he does on your team against the other team. If you were to put him in, I would highly recommend still keeping a tank on your team because he is relatively squishy for the characters that you have. So in review, basically Rex, Lead, Kylo, Emperor Palpatine, and then in the back 2 slots, you could have Sun Fac and Geonosian Soldier, or Boba Fett, Jedi Knight Anakin, Aayla Secura could stay back there, Han Solo. There's a number of very, very cool options that you could do. Now, there's another team that you could build for Arena, and that is if you decide to use your next Zeta on Maul, his leadership ability, you could very quickly build a Maul Arena team because you have the makings of a great Maul Arena team. So if you Zeta Darth Maul, you could then throw in Darth Nihilus. Once he's finished, you need to get him above Gear 8. Obviously, you want to get him to about Gear 10 or 11. You have Darth Vader all ready to go. You have Emperor Palpatine all ready to go. And you could even use your Shore Trooper, or you could use somebody else in here like Count Dooku. You have a Count Dooku at Gear 10, almost Gear 11. So you have a Sith team that's kind of sitting here ready to go. All you would need is the Zeta ability on Darth Maul's leadership to go run with that. Now, as far as a couple of side projects, I have 5 characters I think you really need to focus on. These are going to be characters that are going to help you in the long run through the game. And the first of the 5 is Shore Trooper. You are blessed. You are one of the few who were able to probably unlock him early on when we had tournaments last year. And you got him to 5 stars. And he is farmable, but he's a slow farm. So getting him to 7 stars will take some time. But you are one of the few that have him, and he is a great character. He's going to help you in any Empire event. There are many Empire events that come down that we've had in the past and that will come in the future. And he's a great auto taunt. If you're missing bays, you got Shore Trooper, right? So Shore Trooper is going to be your auto taunter. So I would definitely put him in the top 5 of top characters you need to finish gearing. I know everyone gives me a hard time, but B2 Super Battle Droid is definitely a character, tank that you should focus on. You have him 7 stars and his abilities at level 7, but finish gearing him. You have him at Gear 8, put him in your favorites and start working on the gear. As you get the gear, pop it in, get him up passively over the next few months. You will find moments in the Galactic War where you just can't beat a team, and then you're going to end up plugging in B2 and Boba Fett, and all of a sudden you can walk through the team and you'll be surprised and you'll go, man, why didn't someone tell me sooner about the B2? And so obviously I'm a big proponent of the B2, and so here is your call to farm and gear up the B2 Battle Droid. Now the third is the TIE Fighter Pilot, and you really actually have a lot of work put into the TIE Fighter. I'm just asking that you finish what you started, put him in your favorites, and get him from Gear 9 to Gear 10, and hopefully at some point down the road, Gear 11. But Gear 9, especially because I'm going to recommend you use him in his ship inside of the ship's arena. You're going to want him as high as possible, so definitely take the time to invest in him as a character so that way his ship is more powerful, because 65% of the ship's strength comes from their pilot. So that's number 3. And number 4 is Darth Nihilus. Darth Nihilus, you have all of his abilities up. You got some good mods on him. You got him 3-star. That's okay. But you definitely need to get his gear up. You're at 7 or 8. You need to get him up to at least 10 so you can use him in arena. You will be crazy surprised by how absolutely amazing Darth Nihilus is and how absolutely durable. Now, you only have your Darth Nihilus at gear, let's look, Gear 8. And check this out. He's at almost 30,000 health and protection at only Gear 8. Once you get up to Gear 10, he's going to have nearly 70,000. So the gear matters a ton. You know this already. Darth Nihilus is definitely very, very viable now and will be in the future. You won't regret any investment in him that you make. Now, you did talk about the heroic AAT, that you're struggling a little bit in Phase 3 and in Phase 4, and you're wanting to know maybe what you should be doing in Phase 3 and Phase 4. So one of the side projects I'm going to recommend for you you're already probably working on as a side project, and that is clones. It looks like you're working on your clones. Clone Sergeant is the hardest, obviously, to farm because he's got only like one node or whatever to get him from, and so he's definitely difficult to get, but you got him 6 stars, so that's good. But put these guys passively kind of on the side burner to work on. That's a great side project. They're going to help you with the second phase or the fourth phase, so definitely you're wanting to fix your third and fourth phases of heroic AAT. Clones are going to do it. You're not ready yet, but you are getting them there, and it looks like 2 of them are already pretty done, and then you've just got the other 3, Cody, Echo, and Sergeant, to really gear up and work on. So maybe throw those 3 into your favorites and start passively working on them as well at the same time as those other characters that I told you about. As far as phase 3 goes, I would recommend doing the Chief Chirpa Emperor Palpatine, which you're probably doing now, but you might find that you're not getting enough damage in because Chief Chirpa dies and your other characters die, and so the durability is going to come with the characters you're using, getting them geared up higher. So you want to continue to gear up Chief Chirpa, obviously your Emperor Palpatine. You'll want to also use Royal Guard in there, and Stormtrooper Han in there, and Sun Fac in there. Those 3 tanks should be able to keep Emperor Palpatine alive long enough to get that little extra damage. You might need to gear Royal Guard up a little bit more and Sun Fac up. You might try to work on the 2 of those tanks a little bit more to get them to gear 11 like you did Emperor Palpatine. I know that's going to be a difficult task. I guess it depends on how bad you want phase 3 extra damage, because that 1 extra level from gear 10 to gear 11 brings about equivalent to about 200,000 more damage in the raid, and this is why their durability allows for Emperor Palpatine to get more damage off, about 200,000 more for that extra gear level. When they're lower level, they die quicker, and then they focus on your Emperor Palpatine, who then dies quicker. So to get your damage dealer doing more damage longer, your tanks have to stick around longer, and the only way to do that is to gear them up. So Sun Fac, Royal Guard, both of those I would work on as well. And otherwise, it looks like you've got that team for 3 built. And then for phase 4, I know you're building clones on the side, but you've got rebels. So as far as an interesting rebel team that you could use, now remember heroic AAT, you're going to have 7 stars. And so surprisingly, one of the characters that a lot of people don't think about is Han Solo. So Han Solo, Princess Leia, Lando, Biggs, Wedge, those 5 can do a ton of damage. There's multiple AoE capabilities and multiple buff options to buff your team to ensure that they survive when you topple the tank and that big ship comes overhead and destroys everyone. You will be able to buff your team, but this team, what I've just described, should be enough to be able to do a significant amount of damage, between 600,000 to 1 million with these characters. Now, you don't have a tank per se in here, so you could level up another tank like the Scarif Rebel Pathfinder, who's a relatively quick farm in Cantina now, that you could put in there, and he kind of is a tank that never dies because you can continue to buff him with Princess Leia or Han Solo to keep him reviving, and that way the tank has to keep killing your tank and you can continue to do damage. So the Scarif Rebel Pathfinder is a rebel that a lot of people don't talk about in phase 4, but if you're using your Stormtrooper Han in your phase 3, you're lacking durability in your rebel team on phase 4, and you don't have Baze Malbus and the Chirrut Imwe combo yet, and you definitely don't have Chirrut 7 stars, because Chirrut at 7 stars would give you at least some cleanse and some healing property, but Scarif Rebel Pathfinder may be the way to go. He's an average farm, and as far as gearing, he's about average to gear. So those are your thoughts there. Now you have Kylo Ren, Zeta, so you could use him obviously in P1, and also in phase 1 you could use your Jedi. You've got a phenomenal group of Jedi. If you were going to do it, I would use your first 4 and Ahsoka Tano. Otherwise, if you have time and if your team is allowing you to, you could use your Zeta Kylo in phase 1. And then I know what I've heard is that they fixed Kylo Ren not being able to escape, and so that's why I'm mentioning the Jedi, because at some point, if they do throw in a fix like that, you will need a team other than just a Kylo. And then for phase 2, of course, you could use your droids and Jawa combo, and you've got your Jawa Engineer and Chief Nebadub. And you've got your 3 main HK, IG, 86, and 88, both maxed as well. So it looks like you've got a relatively good Phase 2 team. But again, you're going to work on your clones on the side. That's going to help you with Phase 2 and or Phase 4. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at your ships. So for ships, you're doing very well. But one thing I noticed is that you have a lot of really good ships that you can mix in, and you're not kind of utilizing them to the best of their ability. So the first thing I would say is in your initial 5, you're going to want to have the Imperial TIE Fighter, because you're using Admiral Akbar. Your Imperial TIE Fighter, he's going to go fast and first. And you also have the TIE Advanced, which you can promote. Already it looks like you have enough to promote him to 5-star, so I would definitely do that. And those 2 are going to be your target lock masters. Also, Sunfac can be in your initial lineup as a tank, and if he attacks out of turn, will apply target lock. So those 3 are going to target lock the entire other team. You also have the Scimitar. I know he's down a little ways, but the Scimitar will survive in your initial lineup if you have bigs. And as their opponents are losing ships, the new ships that come in will get target lock from Scimitar. So your 3 damage dealers are Scimitar, the Imperial TIE Fighter, and then the TIE Advanced, and that's target lock heaven. And then you've got Biggs and Sunfac, who are your tanks. And then your first in is going to be Slave 1, and this is why with all that target lock, by the time he comes in, one of your tanks dies, he comes in, his first AoE is going to do a ridiculous amount of damage to target locked enemies. So he's great as a first reinforcement. Then you're going to want to follow it up with some massive damage capability, and that is going to come from who I had you initially pull, which is Wedge. Have him come in near the end is going to really give you a lot of extra damage dealing near the end that will help finish out the battle if needed. And if that doesn't do it, you will have your #1 team in the lineup, Jedi Consular, who's going to come in, do a lot of damage, put protection up on whatever ship is damaged, and he'll call an assist. And so more than likely that will be Wedge, since Wedge is the one that was just brought in last, and that is your heaviest damage dealer. So Wedge and your heavy damage dealer will be finishing the battle out for you if you get into your bottom 3. So that is the suggestion that I have for you. That would be Biggs, the TIE Advanced, the Imperial TIE Fighter. These are going to be in the middle, of course, your TIE Advanced, your Biggs ship, Sunfac, of course, down here, your Scimitar, and then after those 5, your Slave 1, Wedge, and Jedi Consular. So you're doing really, really well. I think you can do better even than that in ships. Don't just do your 1 battle a day and call it good. Use 5 battles a day every day. Try to climb as high as you can and get to a point where you're satisfied that you're in the top 100 or in the top 200, and then maybe slow down to 3 battles a day or something. But make sure you're utilizing the capability in the game of climbing by all of the attacks they give you if you want the payout that it can provide. And then as far as arena, you're doing great. The team you're using, while it looks kind of crazy and non-synergistic, is actually a very, very strong team, hence the reason why you're in the top 30. But there are some suggestions like I gave you earlier. I hope they help. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.